Mangwanani Mwalelepo Vukenjani Kekwa Africa. Welcome to Africa Good Morning, the news and current affairs show bringing you everything you need to know happening on the African continent and beyond. You are joined by Ashwin Berry and Diana Master. How are you, Diana?
I'm doing well. How are you doing, Ashwin?
I'm fantastic.
I'm matching the set today.
I see you with the
orange.
Desert colors, you know what it is.
You know?
Namibia, get it right.
Now let's get into what you can expect in today's broadcast. Gabon's deposed President Ali Bongo goes on hunger strike. Mosque attack in Nigeria's north injures at least 24 people, including children, and South Africa's president approves a major health reform law. We'll also be bringing you news from Zimbabwe a little later on in the show with Talent Gore. But for now, we'll be taking a quick ad break and getting into our top stories when we get back.
Introducing 061 Express, brought to you by Synergy in proud partnership with Windhoek Express. Here's your chance to make your voice heard to celebrate the businesses that make Windhoek exceptional. From your favorite coffee spot to the salon that always gets your style just right. It's time to shine a spotlight on the gems of our city. Over the next 8 weeks, it's your chance to vote for your favorites to recognize the best of the best. Nominations open on the 25th of April and close on the 5th of May. To nominate your favorite business, simply save this number 085 785 6231 and WhatsApp hashtag 061 Express or scan the QR code below and follow the on-screen instructions. By nominating your favorites, you're not only supporting local businesses, but you also stand a chance to win your share of 50,000 Namibian dollars in cash. The voting process will be the same as the nominations process, using the Synergy chatbot and the hashtag 061 Express. Voting opens on June 5th and closes on June 23rd. Make sure to cast your votes for the best of the best. The winners will be announced on June 28th. 061 Express, celebrating the heartbeat of Windhoek. Get ready to make your mark.
Getting into our top stories, Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu has suspended a planned levy on electronic banking transactions following widespread public criticism of the scheme, Information Minister Mohammed Idris said. Now, the Central Bank of Nigeria had last week told financial institutions to charge 0.5% of the value of electronic transfers to raise money for enhancing cybersecurity in the country. Now, the levy will start in 5 days. The cybersecurity tax policy implementation has been directed by the government to be put on hold, so it has been suspended, Mr. Idris told reporters.
Now, at least 24 worshippers, including 4 children, were injured in northern Nigeria's Kano state after a man attacked the mosque where they were praying early Wednesday morning, resulting in an explosion. The police said the suspect, a 38-year-old resident of the area, confessed that he attacked the mosque in Kano's remote Gadan village purely in hostility following prolonged family disagreement. Police spokesman Abdullahi Haruna said in a statement, the incident caused panic in Kano, northern Nigeria's largest state, where periodic religious-related unrest has occurred over the years, sometimes resulting in violence. Haruna said preliminary forensic analysis suggested a gasoline explosion, but a full investigation was still ongoing.
Now, Gabon's deposed President Ali Bongo and 2 of his sons have gone on a hunger strike to protest against their alleged subjection to acts of torture and barbarity, the family's lawyers say. Bongo was ousted in a military coup in August last year, shortly after he won a disputed presidential poll. He was then confined to his house in the capital, Libreville, along with 2 of his sons, Jalil and Belal. The ruling junta also placed his wife, Sylvia Bongo, and eldest son, Noureddin, in prison, awaiting trial on corruption allegations. Now, in a statement, their lawyers alleged that Noureddin was reportedly tortured, beaten with a hammer and crowbar, strangled, whipped, and electrocuted with a taser.
Now, child soldiers were used by an Islamic State-linked group to attack and plunder a town in northern Mozambique, a Human Rights Watch report said. The charity said boys as young as the age of 13 raided Macomia town in Cabo Delgado province on 10 May. However, it is not known whether the children fought against government armed forces. The Al-Shabaab raid sparked heavy fighting after the group targeted government forces and also looted warehouses and shops. HRW heard from witnesses that dozens of boys were among the Al-Shabaab fighters carrying ammunition belts and AK-style assault rifles. Two members of the family said they saw their 13-year-old nephew among the group's members.
South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa signed into law yesterday a bill that aims to provide universal health coverage, hailing it as a major step in the journey towards a more just society, although critics say they will challenge it in court. Ramaphosa has vowed to reform South Africa's two-tier health system in which a publicly funded sector that serves 84% of the population is overburdened and run down, while some people have access to better treatments through private insurance. His signing of the National Health Insurance Bill, which was passed by Parliament last year, comes 2 weeks before an election in which the ruling African National Congress is fighting to retain its parliamentary majority after 30 years in power. The bill will gradually limit the role of private insurance, create a new public fund to provide free access for South African citizens, and set the fees and prices that private doctors and healthcare suppliers can charge for NHI-funded benefits.
And now closing off our top stories, the last two suspects sought by a UN tribunal over the alleged role in the 1994 Rwandan genocide died in the 1998. The UN War Crimes prosecutor tasked with finding them said on Wednesday. The prosecutor said investigations had shown that fugitives Riandikayo and Charles Sekubwabo had both died in 1998, around 4 years after they had fled Rwanda for what was then Zaire, now Democratic Republic of Congo. Both had been charged with genocide and with crimes against humanity, including murder and extermination. In the last 4 years, the International Residual Mechanism for Criminal Tribunals had already arrested 2 Rwandan genocide suspects and confirmed the deaths of 4 other fugitives.
All right, those have been our top stories on Africa. Good morning. After the break, we talk to Talent Gore in Zimbabwe.
Neopaints has established a 67-year Namibian legacy, creating personalized paint solutions that blend quality and innovation for the Namibian people. We pride ourselves in being a 100% Namibian-owned company, investing in our country and our people by employing and empowering true Namibians. With every brushstroke, Neopaints commits to our quality guarantee and always delivering a coat of excellence. At Neopaints, we always stay true to our country. We are as Namibian as you.
Now, El Nino has been wreaking havoc in the Southern African region, and as we have come to understand, at least half of Zimbabweans are going to be needing food aid. Talent Gore Wamukase. Tamukahedu. So more than half of Zimbabweans are going to be needing food aid after the havoc that El Nino has wreaked. Tell us more.
Yes, more than half of Zimbabwe's population will need food aid this year, and you also find out that many non-governmental organizations, humanitarian organizations, have been seeking funding to save many people from hunger. This was said by the cabinet on Tuesday. About 6 million people in rural areas and 1.7 million in urban areas will require assistance, and this was according to Zimbabwe's Livelihoods Assessment Committee. Zimbabwe is among the worst hit countries by the El Nino-induced drought in southern Africa, with Zambia and Malawi also facing food shortages. So this is Zimbabwe's worst drought in 40 years. Well, this was according to the government, which said that this is the worst drought that we are going to be facing, or we are facing over the past 40 years. The latest crop assessment presented to the cabinet of Zimbabwe also revised upward Zimbabwe's maize production deficit to 77%. We also find out that the president has been seeking donations also from other countries to ensure that the people can at least get maize and other food, given that we're going to be facing a very bad food shortage.
Now, Talent, from one problem to the next, we are talking Parenyato's cancer unit that is in dire straits.
Yes, a critical machine used in the early detection of cancer or breast Disease at Perinatal Group of Hospitals, which is one of the major referral hospitals in Zimbabwe, broke down 15 years ago, and ever since then they haven't been able to get it fixed, or rather buy a new one. Well, this was said by the hospital's chief medical officer, who said that they are unable to offer pap smear due to lack of lab support. They're also saying that they have very limited resources, which are not, which then cannot cater for the needs of the hospital. They can't buy new machinery, and they cannot even have the old ones running. Right now, most of the equipment at the hospital is broken down, and it has not been working in years. Ms. Magule, who is the chief medical officer, also said that their own mammography machine has been down for more than 50 years, and they have not been able to buy and replace it. They also said that they have 3 radiotherapy machines which are very old, and they are due for replacement. And they have 1 machine which treats cervical cancer, and unfortunately all those 3 radiotherapy machines are not working, and they have not been able to offer radiotherapy in their unit.
So to be clear, there's an overburdened hospital. There are no working radiotherapy machines, 1 cervical cancer machine serving thousands and thousands of Zimbabweans, especially because there's no money for it, allegedly, from government. However, good news, because the government does have money for the new conference center for the SADC summit.
Yes, as we all know, Zimbabwe will be hosting this year's SADC summit in Harare, and the president yesterday visited and toured the new conference center, which will host the presidents who are coming in August. And the president said that he was very proud, and he was hopeful that they will host a successful SADC Heads of State and Government Summit. He also said that they were going to be done building the conference center and also the villas in which the heads of state will be staying at by end of July, and he's hoping that when the conference starts, everything will be in place. So the government has been building, and they've been repairing roads, and even constructing new roads which will be leading to the conference, and the SADC summit will be held. So a lot of development is happening right now in terms of infrastructural development and all sort of stuff ahead and in preparation of the SADC summit in August of this year.
All right, we had to take a moment to figure out Zimbabwe's priorities over there. But thank you very much, Talent Gore, for bringing us the news stories as they are.
You're welcome, and thank you very much for having me.
It's always good having Talent Gore on Africa Good Morning to give us an update on all the news making headlines in Zimbabwe. What's also good to have is the weather predictions.
Welcome to My.NA Cars, your ultimate destination for everything automotive.
I am your host, Diana Master. Teamwork makes the dream work, right?
Discover the latest models, innovative technologies, and expert insights from our passionate hosts. Learn essential maintenance tips and get exclusive behind-the-scenes access to the automotive industry. Don't miss My.NA Cars on NTV every Thursday at 2100 hours. Tune in and ignite your passion for automobiles.
Now, I spoke about this at the beginning of the show. Let's give it a deeper look. Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu has suspended a planned levy on electronic banking transactions following widespread public criticism of the scheme, Information Minister Mohammed Idris said. Now, the Central Bank of Nigeria had last week told financial institutions to charge 0.5% of the value of electronic transfers to raise money for enhancing cybersecurity in the country. The levy was to start in 5 days. The cybersecurity tax policy implementation has been directed by the government to be put on hold, so it has been suspended, Mr. Idris told reporters following a cabinet meeting in the capital, Abuja. President Tinubu directed the Central Bank of Nigeria to review the modalities for its implementation, the minister added. Many Nigerians had condemned the planned levy, with some saying it would push them back to using cash. But Idris said that the president was not insensitive to the feelings of Nigerians. Nigeria is experiencing its worst economic crisis in a generation, and many people said the levy would cause further hardship as they struggle to afford basic items.
Now, Qatar Airways will soon announce an investment in an airline in Southern Africa, the CEO said on Wednesday, part of the Gulf carrier's drive to extend its network in Africa. We are at the final stage of an equity investment in an airline in the southern part of Africa, Badar Mohammed Al-Mir said on a panel at the Qatar Economic Forum in Doha, saying the deal could be announced in 2 to 3 weeks. Mir, who became CEO in November, said the southern part of Africa was a gap in Qatar Airways' network coverage on the continent. He added that Qatar Airways wants to expand the fleet of its partner airlines in Africa to improve connectivity. Qatar Airways in 2019 took a 60% stake in a new $1.3 billion international airport being built in Rwanda and has code-share agreements with several airlines in Africa, including Rwandair. Rwandair CEO Yvonne Manzi Makolo, speaking in Doha, said the airport could be incorporated around 2027 to 2028.
Those have been our economic news stories. Let's head over to the indicators just before Ari brings us the sport.
Hello and welcome to today's Sports Rep Show.
I am your host, Jesse Jackson Kauraifa. In replay, Namibia, who had won the toss for the first time on this tour.
Good day everyone, time for international sports news, starting off with tennis news, both on the WTA for women's and Good day everyone, time for international sports news, and starting off with soccer news first. A big game that was played in the English Premier League have a big impact also on who's going to win the Premier League. What happened was Manchester City won at Tottenham Hotspur. The score there was 2-0 with Erling Haaland scoring a double, and that will put Manchester City on the brink of securing a fourth consecutive title. That will be the first time ever that that was achieved if Manchester City do achieve that this coming weekend. So it goes down to the last game, the 38th game of the season, and what happens on Saturday, all the games will be at the same time, 5 p.m. Namibian time, and it will be Manchester City that will play against West Ham. That will be at home for them, and also Arsenal that will play at home against Everton. Arsenal also important in this because they're just 2 points behind Manchester City at the moment, just 2 points separating them, 86 and 88 points respectively from 37 games. So that is all to play for on Saturday for the English Premier League title. Going on to Formula One racing, and the next race will be this coming weekend, and it will be the Emilio Romano race, the Grand Prix that will take place in Italy, and it is Ferrari that also made two high-profile announcements, and that was acquisitions, and that is from another team. It is from Mercedes-Benz. So big announcement from Ferrari. It will be Jerome D'Ambrosio. He will be the new deputy team principal, and he previously worked for Mercedes-Benz, and another Mercedes-Benz employee that's going to Ferrari is Leorc Serra. He will be the head of the performance of the chassis engineering. So two good acquisitions for Ferrari from Mercedes-Benz. That also comes on the back of Ferrari also securing the services of Lewis Hamilton for the 2025 season, also from Mercedes-Benz. And to close off today's international sports news, it is tennis news. The Italian Open that continues. All the top players in the world, men and women, playing in the tournament. On the men's side, a big result for Tommy Paul. Tommy Paul of the USA, he beat the number 2 seed Daniil Medvedev quite comfortably, actually, 6-1 and 6-4. That is to advance to the round of 8. And also a good result for Stefanos Tsitsipas of Greece. He beat Alex de Minaur of Australia by 6-1 and 6-2. Also a very comfortable win. With Daniil Medvedev being out, the number 1 and 2 seeds both out of the men's section. It is Novak Djokovic that also lost earlier. So the highest seed left in the tournament is Alexander Zverev of Germany, and he will play Nuno Burgos in the next round. On the women's side of the Italian Open draw, it is number 1 seed Iga Swiatek safely through. She beat America's Madeline Keys, the 18th seed, by 6-1 and 6-3. And then number 3 seed of America, Coco Gauff, also through. She beat Guangwen Zheng. She's a 7th seed, 7-6, 6-1. And now it will be Iga Swiatek playing against Coco Gauff in the round of 8. Also number 2 seed, Aryna Sabalenka, she's playing against Yelena Ostapenko in the next round. So number 1 and 2 seeds in the women division still also in the Italian Open. That's the international sports news for today. I hope you have a great sport day, and we talk international sport again tomorrow. Goodbye.
You're still with Africa. Good morning. For those of you that are just joining us, let's take a look at the highlights from today's broadcast. Gabon's deposed President Ali Bongo goes on hunger strike. Mosque attack in Nigeria's north injures at least 24 people, including children. And Nigeria suspends cybersecurity levy after public uproar.
DSTV 2 at 5, GoTV 25, 1up2.com, and Network Media Hub on YouTube is particularly where you can find us. From Diana Master and Ashwin Berry, Sweraja Kanaka.